Why do many elderly people not live past 73? The action that determines their fate. Have you ever wondered why so many elderly people don't live past 73? Is it just the course of nature, or is there something more to it? Something hidden beneath the surface? Something within our control? Well, this is a question that has haunted me for years, because I've seen it firsthand. Maybe you have too. Elderly people in our lives who live healthy lives, yet seem to fade away much sooner than we expect. What's going on here? Why is 73 such a turning point? And most importantly, is there anything we can do to change that outcome? Today, we're diving into a mystery that involves not just biology or fate, but also our choices, actions, and attitudes. Stick with me, because the answers are more empowering than you might think. I know I'm not alone in asking these questions. I've had family members, close friends, and even mentors who passed away unexpectedly at that age. It made me ask, what could they have done differently? What could I do differently to make sure I live longer, and more importantly, live better? It's something that has been on my mind as I watch the elderly around me, those who are full of wisdom, stories, and experiences, yet they're gone before we're ready. It makes me wonder how much of it is really in their control, and how much of it could be in ours. Today, we're going to uncover the reasons why many elderly people don't make it past the age of 73. And trust me, it's not just about getting older. We're going to look at the actions, the choices, the habits, and the mindset that determines whether someone lives well into their 80s, 90s, or even longer. So grab a seat and stay tuned. This could change how you think about aging, life, and, yes, your future too. Let's dive right in. Chapter 1. The Science Behind Aging. What Makes Us Tick. The aging process, the clock that never stops. Let's start at the very beginning. What actually happens when we age? Well, the first thing you should know is that aging isn't a sudden event. It's a slow, almost invisible process that begins from the moment we're born. Imagine your body as a car, constantly in motion, but as time goes on, the engine starts to slow down. The parts wear out, cells begin to lose their ability to repair themselves, and they start to accumulate damage. Over time, our bodies can't regenerate cells the way they did when we were younger. It's like trying to patch up holes in a leaky boat. The repairs don't hold as well anymore. The process is known as cellular aging, and it affects everything from our skin to our organs, bones, and muscles. Our body's ability to fight off diseases starts to decrease, and our metabolic systems become less efficient. Think of the difference between a fresh new apple and one that's been sitting in the fridge for a week. The longer you leave it, the more wrinkles, bruises, and decay you'll see. The same thing happens to our cells, just on a much slower scale. This is the natural part of aging, and while we can't completely avoid it, we can certainly slow it down. Genetics versus lifestyle. What role does DNA play? Now, there's an interesting debate in the scientific community about the role of genetics. Why do some people live into their 90s, while others don't make it past their 70s, even though they seem relatively healthy? Well, it turns out, genetics plays a big part. Some people are born with what we call longevity genes. These are specific genetic traits that allow their bodies to fight off diseases, repair damage better, and age slower. It's like having a better engine in that car I mentioned earlier. It gives you a head start. But here's the catch: genetics aren't everything. The truth is, lifestyle choices can completely override the genetic hand we're dealt. I'm sure you've heard the saying, "You are what you eat." But it goes beyond that. It's the way we live, move, and interact with the world that can either extend our life or cut it short. Environmental factors, the hidden impact. On top of that, we can't forget about the environment around us. Air quality, pollution, stress levels, and even where you live can all affect how quickly you age. Studies have shown that people who live in areas with high pollution or in high-stress environments tend to age faster and develop chronic diseases earlier. Meanwhile, people in regions with clean air, healthy diets, and supportive communities often experience slower aging processes, One perfect example is the blue zones, areas in the world where people live significantly longer lives. Places like Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, and Loma Linda in California are famous for their high concentration of centenarians. What do these places have in common? A healthy diet, strong social bonds, and active lifestyles. Takeaway: aging is inevitable. We can't stop the clock, but what we can control is how well we age. Genetics may give us a starting point, but our choices, environment, and lifestyle determine how long we'll run smoothly. In many cases, it's the habits we form in our youth that determine our quality of life in our later years. Chapter 2. The role of lifestyle choices. How our actions determine our fate. The power of nutrition. Food as medicine. Let's talk about something everyone can relate to. Food. Now, I'm not talking about the occasional burger or birthday cake. We all indulge sometimes. But what you eat on a daily basis has a massive impact on your longevity. You see, our bodies are constantly repairing and rebuilding, and the fuel we put into them directly affects their ability to do this. Eating a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and healthy fats like olive oil and avocados gives our bodies the nutrients they need to fight off disease, repair damaged cells, and keep inflammation at bay. Conversely, a diet high in processed foods, sugars, and unhealthy fats speeds up the aging process and contributes to diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and even cancer. I'll give you an example. Take a look at the Mediterranean diet, full of fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, and fish, known for its heart-healthy benefits and longevity. People living on this diet often live into their 90s and beyond. Why? Because it's not just about avoiding bad foods. It's about nourishing your body with what it truly needs. On the other hand, poor diet choices, like excess sugar, processed foods, and fried foods, damage our cells and lead to diseases that rob us of our years. It's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good and being able to enjoy those years to the fullest. Physical activity, moving to live longer. Next up is exercise. The secret to living a long, healthy life isn't necessarily in the gym, lifting heavy weights, or running marathons. It's about staying active every day, whether it's taking a brisk walk, doing yoga, or just moving around more in your daily life. Studies have shown that physical activity can add years to your life. Even moderate exercise, like walking 30 minutes a day, has been linked to a reduced risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and even Alzheimer's. Movement is essential for muscle strength, joint flexibility, and heart health, all of which play crucial roles in longevity. And here's the thing, it's never too late to start. Research has shown that people in their 70s and 80s who start exercising regularly see improvements in their overall health, energy levels, and even their mental clarity. The body has an amazing ability to repair itself if you just give it the right conditions. Mental health, the silent longevity killer. Now let's get into something that's often overlooked: mental health. It's easy to forget that our mind and body are deeply connected, but stress, anxiety, and depression can dramatically shorten life expectancy. Constant stress releases cortisol into our systems, which over time weakens our immune system, raises our blood pressure, and increases the risk of stroke, heart disease, and other serious health issues. On the flip side, mental well-being can boost longevity. Maintaining a positive outlook on life, engaging in hobbies, staying curious, and practicing gratitude are all linked to living longer. In fact, studies have found that elderly people who maintain a sense of purpose and remain socially connected are often healthier and live longer than those who withdraw and feel a sense of purposelessness. One personal example that comes to mind is my grandmother. She lived into her late 90s, and one of the things she always emphasized was the importance of staying active, both physically and mentally. She loved reading, gardening, and having regular chats with her friends. Even in her 90s, she kept a positive mindset and felt connected to the world around her. That energy, that purpose, added years to her life. Social connections. Loneliness kills. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous things to an elderly person: loneliness. Research has shown that elderly individuals who lack meaningful social connections have a higher risk of health problems and shorter life expectancy. Social isolation can contribute to depression, cognitive decline, and even premature death. Humans are social creatures, and having strong, supportive relationships is essential for mental and physical health. Whether it's family, friends, or community, staying connected helps boost happiness, reduces stress, and provides the emotional support needed to navigate life's challenges. But here's the sad truth. Loneliness among the elderly is rampant. Many elderly people, especially those who live alone or don't have nearby family, face isolation that affects their health. That's why reaching out to older individuals, engaging with them, and fostering a sense of community is so important. Takeaway. Every action we take today, from what we eat, how we move, to how we manage our stress, plays a crucial role in how long we live and how well we live. It's all about making small, positive changes that accumulate over time. These changes don't just impact our body, they impact our mind, our social lives, and our overall well-being. In the end, it's not just about adding years to our life, but life to our years. Chapter 3. The Psychological and Emotional Journey of Aging. Fear of aging and death, a universal struggle. As we age, many of us start to feel the weight of time. It's a feeling we can't escape, no matter how much we try to hide from it. The fear of aging, and inevitably, the fear of death. It's something that most of us won't admit to, but deep down, we feel it, especially as we approach our 70s or beyond. Suddenly, those little aches and pains seem more important. Time feels like it's slipping away faster. But why is this fear so pervasive? You see, aging is not just a physical process, it's a psychological one too. We are taught to fear getting older, to fear what lies beyond the milestone birthdays. Society tells us that aging means decline, that it's the beginning of the end. The media often paints a picture of elderly people as frail, forgetful, and irrelevant. It's no wonder that as we approach this stage of life, many of us feel lost, anxious, and depressed. But here's the truth. Aging doesn't have to be a burden. It doesn't have to be something to fear. Aging can be a beautiful chapter filled with wisdom, peace, and purpose. It's about shifting our mindset. Instead of focusing on what we're losing, we should focus on what we've gained. Every year brings new experiences, insights, and opportunities for growth. And the sooner we come to terms with the fact that we can't stop time, the sooner we can embrace the richness of life at any age. Living with purpose. The key to longevity. Here's something I want you to think about. How many elderly people do you know who live with a sense of purpose? It's probably more than you think. People who have something to look forward to every day, whether it's a hobby, a passion, or simply being there for their family, tend to live longer and enjoy better health. I remember reading about a study conducted in the 1990s that followed people in their 70s and 80s who had a strong sense of purpose in life. These individuals were significantly less likely to suffer from chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, or dementia. It wasn't because they were genetically gifted or had perfect diets. It was because they had a reason to get out of bed every morning. They had goals, they had passions, and they had people who depended on them. Think about your own life. What's the thing that drives you? What's your why? For many elderly people, that why can be a life-changing force that keeps them going well into their 90s. It could be caring for grandchildren, volunteering, pursuing lifelong dreams, or even just taking up new hobbies. These things provide structure, mental stimulation, and a sense of self-worth that has a direct impact on life expectancy. The importance of storytelling and sharing experiences. As we grow older, one of the most powerful things we can do is pass on our stories, our wisdom, and our experiences. The simple act of storytelling has been shown to improve cognitive function and emotional well-being in the elderly. When we share our life stories, our challenges, triumphs, and lessons learned, it reinforces our identity and keeps our minds sharp. I often think about my grandfather, who was always the center of attention at family gatherings. Not because he was the loudest or the most outgoing, but because of the rich tapestry of stories he carried with him. He had lived through so much: wars, revolutions, personal losses, and yet, every time he spoke, it felt like we were walking beside him through his memories. Those stories kept him alive in a way that words alone never could, and I believe they contributed to his longevity. Takeaway: as we age, our mindset plays an enormous role in determining how well we live. A positive attitude, a sense of purpose, and an active engagement with our own stories can profoundly impact how we age. It's not about fighting the inevitable, it's about finding meaning in every stage of life. Chapter 4: Genetics versus Lifestyle. A battle for control over our future. Nature versus nurture. Can we really control our fate? We've all heard the phrase, "it runs in the family." And when it comes to longevity, there's truth to that. Some people are just genetically predisposed to live longer. They have the so-called longevity genes that allow them to dodge common health issues like heart disease or cancer and keep their body functioning well into their 90s or even 100s. But as we've already seen, genes are just part of the story. What about the other part? Let's talk about people who defy the odds. People who don't have longevity in their DNA but still live a long, fulfilling life. People like my Aunt May, who had a family history of high blood pressure, heart disease, and cancer. But instead of letting those genetic factors dictate her fate, she took control. She exercised every day, ate a plant-based diet, and refused to let stress take over. She lived well into her 90s, despite the family history that suggested she wouldn't. Here's the most amazing part: the actions we take in our lives have the potential to rewrite our genetic fate. For example, studies have shown that certain lifestyle habits, like maintaining a healthy weight, exercising, and not smoking, can actually reduce the effects of bad genes, lowering the risk of diseases that run in families. Case studies: people who beat the odds. Now, let's look at some case studies. There's the famous story of Jeanne Calment, a French woman who lived to be 122 years old. She holds the record for the longest confirmed lifespan. What's interesting about Jeanne is that she didn't have perfect genetics. Her family didn't have a history of long life. But she had some key habits. She was physically active, ate a balanced diet, and kept a positive outlook on life. She also had a love for chocolate and red wine, showing that it's not about depriving yourself, it's about balance. On the other hand, we've all seen people who've inherited genetic predispositions for longevity, but never take care of themselves. They might reach their 70s or early 80s, but their health deteriorates quickly due to poor lifestyle choices. In these cases, their genetic advantages weren't enough to overcome years of smoking, poor diet, and lack of exercise. The power of small, consistent actions. So what's the bottom line? We are not bound to our genetic fate. While we can't change the hand we're dealt, we can change how we play the game. Small, consistent actions, whether it's a daily walk, making better food choices, or getting regular checkups, can dramatically improve our chances of living longer, healthier lives. It's the little habits, compounded over time, that make all the difference. Takeaway: genetics may set the stage for how we age, but it's the choices we make every day that determine how long we live and how well we live. So don't wait for fate to decide your future. Take control of your actions today and make your own destiny. Chapter 5: Medical Advances, a Double-Edged Sword. Modern Medicine and Health, the Life-Saving Revolution. As much as we'd like to believe that longevity is simply the result of good habits and a positive mindset, the reality is that modern medicine has played a huge role in extending life expectancy. From vaccines to life-saving surgeries, from antibiotics to advancements in cancer treatment, the healthcare system has allowed millions of people to live longer, healthier lives than ever before. Consider heart disease, for instance. In the past, a diagnosis of heart disease often meant an early death. But now, with advancements in medications and surgical procedures like bypass surgery and stent placements, people with heart disease can live for many more years, enjoying a high quality of life. The same can be said for cancer treatment. Years ago, a cancer diagnosis was often a death sentence. But now, thanks to chemotherapy, radiation, and immunotherapy, more and more people are surviving cancers that were once considered fatal. Medical technology has made it possible to intervene in ways we could have only dreamed of just a few decades ago. And as science continues to evolve, it's clear that medicine will continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in extending life expectancy. But, is more always better? While all these advancements are incredible, here's the hard truth: medical interventions aren't a magic bullet. They can certainly extend life, but they can't guarantee quality of life. The more we rely on medications and surgeries, the more we risk side effects, dependency, and loss of vitality. And here's where things get tricky. Medical advances may help us live longer, but they don't necessarily make us healthier. Think about it. People today are living longer than ever, but how many of those extra years are spent in a hospital bed, relying on medications to manage chronic conditions? How many people live to their 80s or 90s, but with limited mobility, constant pain, or a diminished sense of independence? It's a paradox. We have more ways to stay alive, but are we really living? In some cases, medical advances may prolong life, but they don't always enhance the quality of life. And that's a key factor when we talk about longevity. Preventative care, the most powerful tool. Here's the good news. Preventative care has proven to be one of the most effective ways to combat the pitfalls of aging. Rather than waiting for disease to strike, taking proactive steps to maintain your health, like regular checkups, screenings, healthy eating, and exercise, can help avoid many of the issues that plague the elderly. In fact, many of the chronic conditions that shorten life expectancy can be prevented with simple lifestyle changes. High blood pressure, diabetes, and obesity are all risk factors that can be managed or prevented with the right habits. And when you catch problems early through regular health screenings, you have a much better chance of maintaining your health for the long haul. Medical advances should be viewed as complementary to our own efforts. They can help us, but they aren't the solution to everything. Our best chance at a long, healthy life comes from taking care of our bodies ourselves and using medical interventions as a safety net when necessary. Takeaway: while modern medicine has dramatically extended life expectancy, it's important to remember that it doesn't guarantee good health in later years. The real power lies in prevention, what we do today to take care of our bodies. Medical advances are a tool, not a cure-all. So use them wisely, but don't rely on them to save you from the consequences of poor lifestyle choices. Chapter 6. The Silent Killer. The Lack of Social Connections. The Power of Family and Community. Now let's talk about something deeply underrated in the conversation about aging: social connections. We often think of aging as a solitary process, especially in our modern world, where people are constantly moving, families are spread across countries, and technology sometimes isolates us more than it connects us. But here's the kicker. One of the most powerful things that can affect our longevity is the quality of our relationships. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, I'm talking about friendships, family, community, and those meaningful connections that give our lives depth. Research shows that older adults who have strong social networks live longer and have a higher quality of life than those who are isolated. This isn't just about having someone to talk to. It's about the feeling of belonging, the sense of being needed, and the emotional support that helps us face life's challenges. People with close friends and family are less likely to suffer from depression, less likely to experience cognitive decline, and even less likely to develop chronic diseases like heart disease and high blood pressure. I've seen this firsthand. My grandfather, for instance, lived into his 90s, and a big part of that was his tight-knit community. He was always helping someone, whether it was with a household chore, a piece of advice, or just a cup of coffee and a chat. His friends were his lifeline. They kept him sharp, they kept him happy, and they kept him going. The dangers of isolation, how loneliness can kill. On the other hand, loneliness is a silent killer, and it's more common than we realize, especially among older adults. Loneliness has been linked to a higher risk of depression, anxiety, heart disease, and even early death. Studies have shown that isolation can be just as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day or being severely overweight. Yes, you heard that right. Loneliness is that dangerous. It's easy to overlook how harmful loneliness can be. After all, many elderly people might be living alone, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. Children move away, friends pass on, and over time, connections begin to fade. And when these bonds break, elderly people often find themselves in a spiral of emotional and physical decline. The problem is, isolation tends to make everything worse. It leads to inactivity, poor eating habits, and a sense of purposelessness, all of which accelerate the aging process. How to combat loneliness? A simple but powerful solution. The good news is that social isolation can be fought. It starts with small steps. Reach out to your elderly relatives and friends. Even a short phone call or a quick visit can make all the difference in their lives. Encourage them to join social groups or volunteer if they're able. Help them reconnect with old friends. Small acts of kindness can help break the isolation and make the elderly feel loved and supported. For elderly people who are living alone, technology can also be a great tool. Video calls, social media, and other forms of digital communication can help bridge the gap. It's not a replacement for in-person interaction, but it can provide regular contact and reduce feelings of loneliness. Communities can also play a role in supporting elderly members. Local senior centers, church groups, or volunteer organizations often provide opportunities for social engagement, and more cities are beginning to recognize the importance of building age-friendly environments where seniors feel included and valued. Takeaway: social connections are as important to longevity as physical health. Isolation accelerates aging, while strong relationships and a sense of community have the opposite effect. So, reach out. Don't let the elderly in your life fade into the background. Give them the gift of connection. It could be the key to a longer, happier life. Chapter 7. The Critical Action. What determines whether you live beyond 73? The importance of mindset, a shift that changes everything. If there's one thing that's clear in all of this, it's that mindset plays a huge role in how we age. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that life is something that happens to us, that aging is simply a process we have no control over. But here's the thing: you have more power than you think. Let me tell you a story about my friend Sarah. She's in her early 70s, and for years she lived with a mindset that her best years were behind her. She thought that once she hit 70, it was downhill from there. She started slowing down, became more reclusive, and generally stopped trying new things. But then something happened. She took a trip to a yoga class that was specifically designed for older adults, and it completely changed her perspective. She realized that she didn't have to give in to aging. She didn't have to surrender to the idea that getting older meant getting weaker or less capable. Today, Sarah is more active than ever. She hikes, does yoga, and volunteers regularly. She's rediscovered a sense of joy and purpose, and she's living proof that a shift in mindset can alter the course of aging. It's not just about being positive. It's about embracing a new reality, one where you're in control of how you age. And that mindset can quite literally add years to your life. The decision to change. Taking action is the key. Here's the critical question. What's the one action that can change everything? It's the decision to take charge of your health and your life. This may seem like a simple answer, but it's the most powerful one. The moment you decide that you're not going to let aging dictate your future, you start making different choices. You choose to move more, to eat better, to stay mentally engaged, and to build meaningful connections. I know this from my own experience too. I used to think that when I reached a certain age, I would just slow down. But after seeing people in my life age with grace and vitality, I realized that aging wasn't something that happened to them. It was something they chose to embrace. They didn't just accept the natural aging process, they actively worked against it. This doesn't mean denying the reality of aging. It means refusing to let it define you. It means taking action today so that when you reach your 70s, 80s, or even 90s, you're still living a full, active, and meaningful life. The power of small habits. How tiny changes lead to big results. It's the small, consistent actions that make the biggest difference in the long run. We often think that in order to live longer, we need to make drastic changes. But the truth is, tiny changes, when practiced over time, can have a profound impact on your life expectancy. For example, starting your day with a glass of water and a 10-minute stretch, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or having a fruit or vegetable with every meal. These are small actions, but they add up over time. When you commit to these habits consistently, they become part of your lifestyle, and they can significantly improve your health and longevity. Don't wait for tomorrow to start making changes. Start today. The small choices you make now are the ones that will define the quality and length of your life in the future. Takeaway. Living beyond 73 is not just a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. Your mindset, your decisions, and the small actions you take each day can dramatically influence how long you live and how well you live. It's up to you to take control and start living with purpose. The critical action is yours to make. Chapter 8. Conclusion. The legacy we leave behind. Final thoughts. What's the point of living longer if you're not living well? As we've explored today, living past 73 isn't about simply adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years. It's about choosing to live well, even as you age. It's about making every moment count and finding purpose, joy, and connection in every stage of life. What good is longevity if you spend those extra years feeling isolated, unhealthy, or unhappy? That's why it's so important to recognize that longevity isn't just a biological process, it's a choice. A choice that comes with the actions you take every single day, from how you treat your body, to how you treat your mind, to how you treat the people around you. Think about the people you admire who've lived long lives. They didn't just add years. They made those years meaningful. They had goals, they had a sense of purpose, and they remained engaged in life. Whether it was through a passion, family, or community, they showed us that life is about more than just surviving. It's about thriving, no matter what age you are. The legacy we leave behind, impacting the world around us. As you approach your own aging process, I want you to ask yourself, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? It's not just about how long you live, but the impact you have on those around you. Do you want to be remembered as someone who lived fully, who made a difference, who stayed connected, and who continued to contribute to the world, even in your later years? Think about it. Every action you take now affects not only your future, but the future of your family, your community, and the people who look up to you. The way you live today will ripple out, creating a legacy that lives long after you're gone. That's the beauty of it all. We have the power to shape our future, to create a life worth living, and to leave behind a legacy that speaks louder than just the number of years we've spent on this earth. Call to action. It's time to act. So, if you take away one thing from today's video, let it be this. The decision to live a long, fulfilling life is in your hands. The actions you take today will determine how you age, how you live, and how you leave your mark on the world. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today. Your future self will thank you for it.